In ancient Egypt, elongated skulls have been found in pre-dynastic burials, suggesting that certain groups practiced cranial modification. Some scholars speculate that royal families, including figures like Akhenaten, may have had elongated skulls, though this remains debated. The practice was often associated with divine favor and wisdom, reinforcing the idea that certain individuals were chosen by the gods. The reasons behind cranial modification varied. Many African cultures viewed elongated skulls as a sign of nobility or intelligence. Some believed it connected individuals to divine or supernatural forces. In some cases, it was simply considered beautiful or prestigious. The practice began dying out in the 1950s with the arrival of more Europeans and Westernization. It was also outlawed by the Belgian government, which ruled over colonial Congo. Head elongation is a global phenomenon, but its origins in Africa remain significant. The practice reflects deep cultural traditions that shaped identity, status, and belief systems across civilizations. African artifacts are consistently found with skull elongation. Some researchers suggest that certain ancient Egyptian depictions, including representations of Queen Nefertiti and King Tutankhamun, show elongated skulls, possibly indicating a form of cranial modification. So, several African cultures practiced head elongation, but the most well-documented among them were the Mangbetu people of Central Africa. The Mangbetu, who lived in northeastern Congo, actually engaged in cranial deformation as a symbol of nobility, intelligence, and beauty. This practice, which was called Lupambo, involved tightly wrapping infants' heads with cloth to encourage that distinctive elongated shape. It was especially common among the ruling classes, and over time, neighboring groups even started to emulate it. But the tradition began to fade in the 1950s due to European influence, and was eventually banned by the Belgian colonial government. Other African groups may have engaged in similar practices, though honestly, documentation is pretty scarce. Some researchers even suggest that certain ancient Egyptian depictions, like those of Queen Nefertiti and King Tutankhamun, show elongated skulls, possibly indicating a form of cranial modification. Prehistoric evidence suggests that early African human remains show signs of cranial modification, though not always intentional modification. In ancient Egypt, around 3000 BCE to 1000 BCE, Egyptian royalty may have still practiced cranial shaping, and the Mangbetu civilization, even in the 19th and 20th centuries, continued practicing Lupambo or head elongation, associating it with status and intelligence. During the colonial era in the mid-20th century, European influence led to the decline of cranial deformation practices, with colonial governments banning them. In modern times, while these traditions have been largely abandoned, there are reports that some Mangbetu individuals continued the practice despite legal restrictions. Head elongation in Africa was, deeply tied to cultural identity, status, and aesthetics. While the practice has mostly disappeared, its historical significance remains a fascinating aspect of African heritage. Debunking the rumors of European heritage, a historical look. The Macrocephali were an ancient group described by Greek historians as, long, curly-headed people who practiced artificial cranial deformation. They were mentioned by figures such as Hesiod, Hippocrates, Pomponius Mela, Pliny the Elder, Valerius Flaccus, Xenophon, Strabo, and Eustathius. First-hand witness testimony, places them in Africa and then later on appearing in India as the first few written accounts started to emerge. This cultural practice involved shaping the skulls of their children to achieve, an elongated appearance. Even though it was banned in the 1960s, it still survives as a tribal tradition and can be seen in modern African civilizations today. Although this has been a topic for European usurpation and colonial extraction, it is not a cultural trait tied to any non-tribal group. It's a tribal tradition still being preserved by its original creators right there in Africa. Thanks for watching. Really thank you.